So,
I mean, we talked about free speech already, this kind of project of perfecting the union over time. I agree with all those things, had written them down as well. But I think the quintessential thing that America got right is this idea of privileging the individual over the state. So much of all of those rights are grounded in the individual, that we're free to choose our own associations, and we're free to break up with people and choose new associations if we so choose. And that is the thing that I think about all the time in general, actually, but certainly on the 4th of July and this semi-quincentennial, which I hope we get to say over and over again today. But it is, the charge was for us to be optimistic and positive, and there have always been challenges. There have always been challenges to free expression all throughout the country's history. The reality is that it is a forever war. We have this opportunity to live in this incredible place, and also to keep and maintain it. Which leads me to the second point that I'd like to make, which is we have a republic, not a democracy. I think we oftentimes use that shorthand democracy to refer to what we're doing here, but the framers also understood that if you're trying to safeguard these individual rights, you have to do it for the benefit of the minority. So minority rights are enshrined in the Constitution, and I think that was a pretty great innovation. I'm having trouble with my words today, perhaps getting a little overwhelmed, because they recognize that majoritarianism could be too excessive. The
tyranny of the majority.
Yeah, so what should I start with, overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Okay, underrated, I got two choices here. Utah is one. And in Utah specifically, I'm talking about Moab and the Arches, which are some of the most Instagram places on the planet. I don't really care. But also they have Dinosaur National Park and all of these incredible wild places that people should totally visit.
That's very true.
The second part of my recommendation here is the Northern California coast, which gets a lot of shine, but is clearly the crown jewel of these United States in terms of places that will just transform you simply by visiting them. I live in Marin, so just north of there, you keep driving on the coast. It is incomparable. Like, you need to be there.
Do these Utah national parks have luxury resorts with
Well, actually,
I could go there.
I will give you one recommendation, and this is an endorsement. Under Canvas, Moab has a great place. You probably don't want to be there in the middle of the summer, but around the edges of that, it's wonderful.
All right,
so what's
Michael Jackson is what I was thinking in the back of my mind, and you made a very compelling case. I probably should have gone that way, but someone who overlapped with him during the Motown era, Stevie Wonder, who has this incomparable catalog, still gives a remarkable performance. I think I've saw him in the last 7 years in Vegas, front row, and it was just absolutely incomparable. Songs In the Key of Life, Inner Visions, As is my all-time favorite song. I sing it with my kids during the lullaby medley that we do. And it's
and he was such an activist with his music, which is also special.
Absolutely.
You want to go first?
Sure. Well, hopefully I'm not stepping on anyone's toes here. I am an unapologetic optimist, and I am bullish on America and its future. I know that there are lots of people who are gravely concerned about the state of the country and where we're headed. Ultimately, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to thrive. I think the project will renew itself in various ways. And I think the cynics will ultimately be wrong, but they will find new things to worry about.
Deep thinkers.
We're going to have some issues scheduling-wise. I have to make sure Renan is not on the same day as yours, because James Baldwin has to come to my cookout. That was the top of my list, actually.
Okay.
And then there's a bevy of other writers and thinkers and musicians. Cormac McCarthy is on there, Annie Dillard. And in terms of the other folks, Clarice Lispector, who's not an American, but is someone who just really speaks to me in a lot of important ways. Pharrell would definitely make the list.
Wow.
Rick Rubin. And I thought about inviting Kanye, and I will definitely give him honorable mention. My issue is, I think he would disrupt the party altogether. But I want to have, these are people who I want to corner at the cookout, have deep conversation, talk about the things they've made that I love.
It's a July 4th cookout. You guys are having philosophers. You guys want to drink.
You do all the things.
You do both.
You do all the